Going live, it says. I think I've finally got this working. Don't know if anybody is there. I won't be like everybody else saying, oh, I'll just wait till a few people hop on. The only thing that's hopping around here at the moment is kangaroos. Whoever that is just signed in. G'day. In recovery mode. I'd really like it if somebody could ask me some questions. Some people say I don't think at all, but not easy to think wearing all this gear. I feel like a non-white knight in shining armour. Armour's not even shining. I'm on the road to recovery. Painful recovery, I guess you could say. I'm just learning about this program, so forgive me. 1 week today since they rushed me off to hospital. About 8:30 this day last week, when I tried kissing the ground. I've been very lucky. I'm led to believe that in an instance like this, there's 98% casualty rate. So I guess I'm only a razor blade distance away from having the nerves in the spine shattered or whatever. Broken vertebrae, broken ribs, bruised liver, kidneys good. What else? Smashed teeth up here. Looking at the helmet, it did take a fair old punishment over a fair area of the helmet. Perhaps that's why it didn't crack in one spot, but what must have happened is everything must have got crushed down this way. All the bruising starting to come out down around here, down my neck. I think a lot of the pain that I'm in is because of whiplash rather than actual pain from those. I'm not sure, I don't know. So I'm going live because I'll be doing much trimming for a while, I don't think. So I'll try and do a couple of other videos on other things that are going on, I guess. I won't go on about this virus and elections and everything else. It's a real pain. I just put up a video before of how they do a log roll when you're in bed with 5 people, if there's 5 people, and how that your life is in their hands, literally. One wrong move, that's the end. Something you can't see. It is something that you can't see what it is. You can feel it. Can't see it. Guess you can see it on the x-rays. But I had 3 CAT scans, 3 of them with the dye that they inject into you. I had a cannula in here and a cannula in here. If you've never had one of those CAT scans, I know some people, my friend Cindy, she reacted rather badly to the dye going into the skin. It's a weird feeling as they inject you here. You can feel yourself start to get warm from here down, and it seems to travel down in a straight line all the way right through until you think it gets down around your bladder, and you think you're going to wet yourself. So you've actually got to try hard not to wet yourself so that you don't wet yourself. So I had that 3 times. I wasn't really keen on the idea of getting all that radioactive stuff injected into my veins, and if I was a younger person, perhaps it could be a lot more dangerous. I wasn't far off dying. I thought there's a pretty good chance that I might, or even worse, that I would become a vegetable. And it's not right that because of my stupidity, somebody else has to look after you like that for the rest of your life. So I'm really, really lucky, and most accidents I've had years, I have been lucky. A lot of people have suffered worse consequences for a lot less effort. Whoever that is online there, say g'day. Who we got? Say something. Ouch. Yeah, so most of my paint's down this side, and I guess that comes from this all being rolled under here. Helmets. I'm a firm believer that the helmet saved my life this time. I'll go and get it. You just want to bear with me for a second. I can get it. Here's my helmet. And I can say a little bit about helmet because when I got these guys, I did $30 each, up to 300 or more, depending. This one here contains an Australian standard, and everything's coming up back to front. 1716 or something like that. But really all they are is a plastic shell. On the inside they're just that PVC stuff. I actually felt when I hit, I felt it sort of squish all the way around my head, so I knew I was rolling. There's no cracks in it that I can see. That was the front where I used to put my camera. So basically I've hit here to start off with, and it sort of rolled on the ground up over this way. What caused it? Apart from my stupidity, what caused it wasn't the horse's fault. Generally it never is. There's this pretty little gadget here, and if you've watched the other videos you've probably seen it, but beautiful pretty little halter, which I use as a bitless bridle. And the chin strap here, which was on here. And when the boy decided to take off, I said, no, you're not going. So perhaps I roofed a little bit hard, but what happened was that just sheared through there. Slight sharp edge in there, but as you can see, the leather is, be lucky to be 2 mil thick. So your gear's pretty important. I guess you wouldn't take off in an aeroplane with half a propeller. Just take off horses. So helmets, back to helmets. Yes, I believe that helmet saved my life. The time before everyone knows about, November 2019, I had a similar accident. Silly old bugger, can't learn. And that's when I landed on my face here and smashed my nose. Oh, I've got more breaks in my nose too. I forgot about that. Sinuses, really played up with my sinuses. Just one other thing I want to show you, if I can find it, is these neck braces. Has anybody worn these neck braces? When you're injured in a spinal injury situation, they generally whack one of these on you. Pretty much just padded rubber, I guess. This is the front. That's where your chin goes, up under here. This is the back. And when it all fits up, this bit here fits inside here like this. Then the tape comes over the top. That's all good and fine. But I'm amazed that whoever designed this just didn't put 5 minutes more thought into it, because if you have a look here, for instance, we can see this edge is nice and sharp. It is only rubber, but it's nice and sharp. All I had to do was do what I've done and just trim the edge off it a little bit, because the points when they were sticking up there before was coming up under my chin on the pressure point. And these masks come up an awful lot higher than these solid ones too. This is brilliant, this thing. It's almost comfortable. It's strange to say. I'll show you if I can. I don't want to pull my head off here. Yeah, so this thing's brilliant. It's even got room where you can get in and have a bit of a scratch. I don't know whether you can see any bruising coming out down here or not. up under the chin. It holds me really well. Is that on? That's up the right way. And with the difference with this one is that other mask, that other neck collar you put on from the back, and then you put the front. With this one, you stick it up under the front, put the back on, and then you can pull your tapes up a bit at a time. It's pretty good, really, just like this. I'm not going to pull it off. I might pull my head off. But reasonably comfortable, no pressure spots, really. Yeah, so that's it. A lot more thought gone into the design of this one. Those others, they generally only keep 4 hours, if that. I had mine on a bit longer because of the spinal injuries down lower. Someone probably reckon I look better with the bag over my head, do you? I've got this camo on so no one can see me. I can only see me from here up. So yes, I had a bad night last night, real bad night. I've knocked off the painkillers. I haven't had any painkillers since 6 o'clock this morning, because at about 6 o'clock this morning I had to go, and I thought I was having a baby, but actually it wasn't a baby. It's just because I hadn't been in the little room for about 4 or 5 days. So I knew all about it this morning. Keep the liquids up. Make sure you take the laxatives. And I guess I'll head off now if nobody's got any questions. Oh, Yvonne, Willen. Thanks, sweetheart. You too. If I look good now, I must have been pretty crash hot before this. Yeah, at least I can still smile. A message to all the people out there that have given up living because they think they're going to die. Don't give up living. A lot of times, and particularly with some of the pain you go through, it would be easy to say, I've had enough and give up. Unfortunately, I guess I've been in this situation in my life. Had my life in the hands of some wonderful, great people over the years. I just put a video up before on how they do the log roll, which takes 5 people, and how they hang onto your neck, and you soon get to know who's good on the head end anyway. But it's only that between being here and being here no more, I guess. So I'll start off while everyone's here. I'm getting a few up now. When this happened, I'd had a big afternoon. I'd done a lot of work and I was feeling pretty good. Clancy decided to get a bit excited when the other horses come up and ran around him, decided to take off. I couldn't stop him and ended up getting flipped over and landing on my face. But I'm saying I got flipped over. It might just be a bad faller, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I came down. They gave me a ride down to the shed, and I went and had a shower. And while I was having a shower, I was trying to have to hold my head up, I guess, and wasn't getting any better. Couldn't lie down. I said, off to the hospital. I said, take me to Bendigo. They said, I don't know about that. They said, in here, the local hospital, Maryborough, they reckon they've picked their game up. Well, I really wasn't in any mood to argue. So off to Maryborough we went, and to my surprise, the emergency staff there are brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. They came out to the car, stuck the neck brace on me, stuck me straight onto a bed and took me in. Then I had the ambulance driver turn up. He took a little while, didn't take that long. Took a little while, and he came across from Avoca to get me. And I don't know where they get the dedication in these people, but absolutely brilliant young fella, and the young girl that was driving as well. All the way to Ballarat. When they sent me on to Ballarat, because there were no doctors on duty at Maryborough. I doubt whether they would have been able to do much for my situation anyway. So off to Ballarat I went down there, and I was met in the trauma department down there. Doctors running around all over the place after me. I got some video. I'll make a video later of. I've always wanted. No, I haven't always. If you've ever laid on a trolley being walked down the passageway of a hospital and looked up at the roof, they all look pretty much the same. Some have even got frogs stuck up there and chooks, and you never know what's up there. So I went down there. I had 2 CAT scans, Melbourne looked at the CAT scans and said send him down here, which they did. Got in the ambulance and went down and that ambulance crew were absolutely brilliant as well. So on the way down, they administered painkiller to me in small doses, as well as anti-nausea stuff, because you lie in those ambulances, you're directly over the back wheel and you pick up the harmonics off the back wheel and the vibration and every bump in the road. But I wasn't yapping like I'm yapping now either I did a bit, I suppose, in my dilemma. Got down there, the trauma unit took over, and one of the trauma doctors there, I was telling about a previous accident I had where I got my leg cut off. She asked me who performed the surgery, and I said, Jesus performed the surgery. And his name was Stephen Fisher at Warrnambool Hospital. He was a polio victim, and he walked with a limp and had a crooked arm, but a brilliant surgeon. And the girl said to me, well, isn't that amazing? She said, I trained under Stephen at Warrnambool, so sort of old homes coming to roost a little bit. So they looked after me down there, and I was getting heaps of painkiller, and I can just about go through this procedure now. So squeeze my fingers, so squeeze their fingers. Now pull, now push. And can you feel this? Where's that? Can you feel that? Where's that? Do the same with the feet. All that, know it off by heart just a bit. So just laying around now that's one thing I wanted to bring up. With all this, but we won't mention the disease that's around at the moment, and the brilliant ambulance people that actually brought me home from Royal Melbourne Hospital. Absolutely brilliant. Their work rate has increased, believe it or not. And I said, why has your work rate increased? And they said, because of the lockdown. And I said, yeah, well, tell me more. And they said, well, people have actually forgotten how to drive since they've been locked down. He said, we're getting more motor accidents. He said, they dealt a lot with all the old people, of course, when Danny killed the 800 back earlier on at the start of this thing. They were involved with all the old people. And I said, have you actually seen anybody that's got this sickness? And he said to me, yeah. And I said, how old? He said, he was about 40. Are you sure it's what they're saying it is? Well, I never got an answer on that. But one of the things he did mention, and there was a video on Facebook the other night, which is very disturbing to see about, I would say it was a lady in the actual hospital I was in who decided to take a high dive off the top floor. And he said the psychological incidence has gone up hugely. So they're getting, and suicide rates, that seems to be their biggest problem at the moment, because nobody's getting sick. Everyone's testing positive to an MPCR test, which was never designed to do what it's doing. And as Dr. Sam says, it's a little bit like testing something and saying, oh, that is a horse's hair. That test just told me that's a horse's hair. Right. Well, there's an awful lot of questions to be asked about that horse's hair then. Tested positive to being a horse's hair. Clydesdale, Mini, Thoroughbred, you name it. If it's a truck and it's got a flat tyre, what size truck? All that. So now I've lost my train of thought. Can someone push me back in the right direction? I'm still here. Yes, and that's the other thing someone mentioned, the bump in the road. One thing I said, I asked a lot of nurses when I was down there, I said, have you ever ridden in an ambulance laying down like a patient? Have you ever ridden in an ambulance at all? And they said no. I believe everybody that's practicing for medicine one way and another should, as part of their training, go for an hour's ride, trussed up in the fluffy bed that they had me in, where I couldn't move an arm, or I could move my little fingers, I could. Everybody should go for a ride in one of them to see what it's actually like, how the patient actually feels when they come out of that vehicle and end up getting pulled off the bed in that log roll and taken into hospital. But not only that, the ambulance I came back in was a private enterprise mob. It was actually Health Select. That'll be backwards, so no one will read it. Health Select and a private enterprise mob who have picked up a lot of work from the ambulance service since all this has been going on, and the work that they get's mainly with old people and that sort of thing, while that poor old ambos have got to go out and handle the smashed up car victims and all that sort of thing. So, but their ambulance on the way back, I don't know whether it was the bed or whatever it was, but it was, compared to the ambulance on the way down, the ride was like chalk and cheese. It was smooth on the way back till I got back here. They brought me in here, had a bit of a look at Clancy and the others that got me into trouble, and then took off back to Melbourne. And brilliant all the way through. The only thing was that I found is lack of communication. Communication is important in everything. You ride a horse, you got to communicate. You're in business, you're in there, that everybody to take a breath if they hadn't had their cell phone in their hand telling them what to do. Big red label on the arm. Mr. Woolley, yes, so-and-so, 13794, allergies, yes, morphine, and so on. Power shut down in that hospital. God only knows what would happen. I really have no idea. But that's a real worry. It's a concern. It's also a concern in regard to this new that's wrong. This new vaccine that they're bringing out, which is not a vaccine. It's an experimental biological element that has never been tested on humans before. If you look up the CDC website, I'll put a thing up to that later on, you can actually go through and see all the adverse reactions that have occurred to that so far. And it's not just a few. It's not a few